All right, if you guys have ever thought about growing your real estate investing career to a massive size, whether you want to do wholesaling, fix and flipping, buy rentals, loan money, be an educator, you've probably heard of Andy McFarland. Andy McFarland is a legend in the real estate industry. He's one of the big time wholesalers that will wholesale in multiple states throughout the country. So if you like wholesaling, you're definitely going to want to listen to the show, but Andy's got wisdom in all realms of real estate, not just wholesaling, but a lot of people know him as a wholesaler because he's so big as a wholesaler. So definitely stay tuned, check out this show. You're going to absolutely love it. Andy's an awesome person and he's got a ton of wisdom to share with you. Good morning, everybody. You are listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki, and today our very special guest is the very famous Andy McFarland. Andy, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh my goodness, you can't give an intro like that. Very famous. Everybody's sitting there in their cars or they're listening to this going like, I've never heard of this guy.
Everybody's heard of you.
No, nobody's heard of this guy.
Everybody's heard. Every time I talk about Andy McFarland, everybody knows who you are. Like, do you know Andy McFarland? Like, yeah, of course we know Andy McFarland.
Oh man, honored. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here at the Yoshi Shiraki. This is a first for me, Yoshi. Live radio. This is awesome.
This is awesome.
Yeah, we can't edit anything else. Let's do it.
Yeah. Andy's normally got a potty mouth. Just kidding.
Oh man, if something slips out today, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
So, Andy kind of made his appearances at the real estate investment clubs. Probably, I haven't been very active myself. So you may have been active and I didn't know it. But there was a time where you were pretty active. I was very active. I was on the board of Salt Lake Real Estate Investing Association, and I'd heard of you before that because Andy McFarland was the big wholesaler in town.
Oh boy, wow. Here it goes. Here it goes. Okay.
Right? So as I got to know you, though, you were so much more than a wholesaler, but that was the kind of introduction through the friends that I knew that knew you, said, oh yeah, he's this big time wholesaler. I've gotten deals from him. And so, what would you say your dominant activity in real estate is? Is it wholesaling, flipping, landlording? Any one that's like the most that you would say takes up the most
and
of
when
your business?
when you're saying that stuff, it was interesting because we did meet back then with Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association and things, and it's been a number of years since I've been active locally. Yeah. But I've met a lot of. I mean, there's still a lot of the same people doing the stuff, so it's been awesome.
That's right.
But I haven't been around locally in a while, and maybe we can get into that kind of where I've been and kind of how I've taken my path. It's been 18 years now. In fact, recently I gave a talk we have an event called Flip Hacking Live we do every year.
Nice.
This year, for the first year, we had to do it virtually, but as I was compiling my thoughts for that talk, what I wanted to talk about this year, and my mind went back to like 19 years ago, my job when I was a dock worker. I was here at Salt Lake City, I was a dock worker for a company called USF Redaway, and I was just having dreams of being a real estate investor, right? And what all that meant and everything. So I was thinking about that as I was preparing for this talk, and thinking about like what I wanted out of real estate. So maybe we can talk about that. But so what I am now is the same thing I was progressed into as when I started 18, 19 years ago. I'm a wholesaler, so I have a business that buys and sells a bunch of properties. Wholesale, we retail flip as well. We'll probably get into that.
All right, guys, we're going to hear about Andy's nightmare story, and so I'm very curious. You know, I was talking with Jordan Atkin, you know Jordan, and I was like, hey Jordan, can you prepare a nightmare story? He's like, today's nightmare story or like which one? He's like, because you get one like daily.
So here, just to set this for the listeners right now. So Yoshi talked to me. In fact, a couple months ago we were talking. He said, "Hey, you want to do this radio show?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Hey, one of the key segments is the nightmare stories." I thought, "Okay, cool. I've got a ton of those." Right? So but as I was thinking through those, and especially the last couple of days, I thought, like, what is my nightmare story? What is my one nightmare story? And I wrote down a list. I've got like a list of 5 ones that I was like, oh, this was horrible, and that was horrible, and this was horrible, and maybe I'll go into a couple of those. Yeah. But overall, I was starting thinking about, okay, let me look at all the properties I've lost money on, like the ones that we make a lot of money on. Like it's like, yay, you're celebrating for it, and it's like, forget about it. The nightmare ones is like you remember the addresses of those properties. So this might be interesting for some of the people listening to this. The last 3 years, probably done 500 or 600 properties in the last 3 years. Awesome. In my company. I lost how many? I'm going to ask you. How many do you think I lost money on these properties?
Probably
550 houses in the last 3 years. Let's call it some number like that.
Okay.
How many did I lose money on over 550 properties?
I mean, I think it's going to be less than 1. I think it's going to be less than 1%, less than 5.
It was like 2.5%. It's 14 properties.
Okay, 14.
14 properties, and lost of those 14 properties, a total of about $250,000 total across all those properties and that stuff. Gotcha. I thought to myself, like, were those nightmare stories? And in the time, and the like, there's ones you're dealing with right now, right? That you just know what it is. It's like permitting issues. It's taking forever. Illogical. Like we have one in Indiana that was like with this COVID stuff. It was like all set, ready to go, ready to roll. Go get the permits, and it was like it was laughable. Every week we talk about our dispositions meeting, it was like you could not even walk in and talk to anybody. It was just like the government bureaucracy slowed to like it was like. For months, it was like 3 months. It was like we're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to go through the right process, and it was like 3 months before we could even talk to anybody. It was absolutely insane, right? So that was like the nightmare of the moment. But I look at all these and think like, any of those really like a lasting nightmare for me? And I'm like, no, they're not. Like there's lessons with each one of those, but most of them are it's like all is what I've knowing that I would have lost $250,000 plus on those 14 deals in the last 3 years. Would I have slowed or changed my process? No, I wouldn't have, because for me it's like. Overall, you're gonna have losses. If you're not having a loss, if you don't have any nightmares or losses on certain properties, you're not trying hard enough. You're not being aggressive enough, right? Right. But certainly, there's things like, and those losses came from like properties that were pretty hairy, like aggressive flips that were like foundation issues or kind of like busy streets, just kind of like bad neighbors, like neighborhoods that might have been a little questionable, that type of stuff, right? Yeah. And the people involved with all that, but like, but were they a lasting nightmare for me? And maybe this is just the perspective of a guy that's like. I'm not going to talk to people at the permitting office. I'm hearing from my guy who's talking to the person that's going to talk to those people, right? Right. So I'm like, is it a nightmare for me? No. Yeah. For me, it's not really a nightmare. But the ones that, maybe we'll get into one of them. One of them that was a nightmare for me at the time, I participated in a loan. It was almost 12 years ago. Oh, wow. 12 years ago, I participated in this loan. And I participated with some people that I thought they were pretty heavy, like experienced hard money lenders. And I'm like, I'd borrowed money from them once prior to that 12 years ago. So they were like, extremely experienced guys, and at that time I thought to myself, I want to be on the other side of this table, right? Yeah. I don't want to be the one borrowing this money. I want to be the one lending the money. And who better to be with than these people who are like the experienced hard money lenders? Right. So I put some money. I participated in this loan, and the loan didn't go good. It went bad, right? Oh yeah. And at that, so I was not partnering with them. I wasn't intending on partnering with them. I was intending on just participating in this loan. Well, what it turned into, we owned this property as tenants in common, as our percentage ownership in that loan became our percentage ownership in the property. So if you guys have done this before, so this was not me intending to do a partnership, but the moral of this story is going to be about be careful who you go into partnership with or who could potentially go into partnership with. So I went into that, did that, and we had a difference of opinion of how to get rid of that property. Okay. So suffice it to say, when you go into a situation like that, when you're tenants in common with somebody, you kind of, unless you want to sue them for petitionship, unless you want to get out of it that way, which is going to be a horrible legal mess and it's going to cost you a bunch of money. You're kind of stuck with who you're stuck with for a number of years. Well, the reason this was a nightmare is because I was continually having to deal with this for the last 12 years. Yes. And I say it's the nightmare. I told you on the break, the nightmare is over because we recently sold our last lot from that. Like last week, I got all of it done up. But 12 years, Yoshi. Wow. 12 years. Bad marriage. Oh man, 12 years. That I had money in there, and 12 years ago, like that money meant so much more to me. I mean, money, it's a large amount of money, or hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it meant a lot to me 12 years ago. Yes. A little less recently. Right. But man, it was like it seemed like every month, every couple of months, I was just like getting kicked again, being reminded by this this bad partnership that I never even wanted to go into. So, moral of the story there is. Be careful who you go into partnerships with, or who you could potentially be going into partnerships with. Because if you don't share the same ideals and thoughts on stuff, you could have a 12-year nightmare on your hands. No kidding. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing all of your wisdom today. Thank you, Yoshi. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it, guys. You've been listening to K Talk Radio, 1640 AM, the show Utah Home Sweet Home, and I hope you all have a spectacular rest of the day. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that segment with Andy McFarland. He shared a lot of great wisdom on growing his business into 3 different states, kind of like a franchise, like McDonald's. And what else I also loved is his tips and wisdom on daily rituals and goal setting. So if you guys like this channel, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and please don't forget to comment in the comment section below. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Okay, before we part ways, in case you have a dog or know someone else who does have a dog, I wanted to take a quick second to show you the Snap Leash. The Snap Leash can literally do so many things, and I'm going to share with you one of the many cool things that it can do. As you can see, the Snap Leash is designed with 2 swivel hooks, one on each end. This end has a cushion stitched into it to make it comfortable when walking your dog. Now, all you have to do is take this swivel hook, put it into this very first grommet, and now you've got your handle. Okay, so now let's imagine you're at the park and you want to secure your pet quickly, safely, and easily
to a park bench, a tree, or a pole because you just want to sit down and relax. Well, all you need to do is take this swivel hook, remove it from the very first grommet, wrap this leash around any size tree or pole or park bench, and put it into the appropriate grommet, and now you have secured your pet quickly, safely, and easily. And when it's time to head home, another great feature about the snap leash is you can simply wrap it around your waist for hands-free walking. Lastly, if you ever accidentally forget your waist bags at home, these grommets make a great place to fasten the waist bags so you never leave home without them. And if you want to see all of the other cool things that the snap leash can do, then please just click on the link below and find out why so many others are falling in love with the snap leash.